ChatGPT is a state-of-the-art language model developed by OpenAI. This powerful AI tool can generate human-like text, making it a game changer for a wide range of applications. In this video, you'll learn about the capabilities of ChatGPT and see how it's being used to develop everything from chatbots to content creation. We'll explore the world of ChatGPT and its potential uses in Formula One. So that whole intro was actually written by ChatGPT. It is an extremely powerful tool and can write realistic human-like answers to any question. So this video, we're going to be asking it questions about Formula One, seeing if it might replace people's jobs or if it could be used as an advantage to some teams, and sort of what the potential is for this technology in Formula One. So as it is an OpenAI software at the moment, the knowledge it knows is actually limited up to 2021. You can't ask it things like, who won the 2022 Formula One season? It will just say, I cannot recall this information. So we'll ask it 10 questions and we'll rate each one out of 5 on how well I think it has answered the question. So the first question I'm going to ask is, who is the greatest Formula One driver of all time? And you'll notice the responses that it can generate is almost instantaneous. It's quite scary. How quickly it can think of these responses. So the answer, the greatest Formula One driver of all time, is a matter of personal opinion, true, and can be debated. Some of the most successful and skilled drivers in the sport's history include Michael Schumacher, Juan Manuel Fangio, Ayrton Senna, Lewis Hamilton, and Alain Prost. So I think it's leaving a few names off this list: Niki Lauda, Jim Clark, Sebastian Vettel, Alonso. For an answer, it's pretty solid, to be honest. Let's see if it can generate a few more. Who are some more of the top drivers? Other drivers who consider to be among the top in Formula One include Jackie Stewart, a 3-time world champion known for his consistency and his success; Nelson Piquet, a 3-time world champion known for his smooth driving style and his ability to set up cars; Niki Lauda, 3-time race champion; Jim Clark, 2-time race champion; Emerson Fittipaldi, 2-time champion. So it's now given us a lot more detail in the answers. So I'm actually really impressed by this answer. Not only does it give pretty much all of the names that are in the top list of Formula One drivers, gives the amount of championships they've won and their driving style or what they were known for. For example, Sebastian Vettel, 4-time champion, known for his consistency and ability to win races in almost any conditions. So I'm going to give this answer a 5 out of 5. So we're going to ask it something now that's maybe a little bit more difficult. I feel like greatest F1 driver, it's fairly easy to retrieve that information from Google. What is the best corner in Formula One? So the response, the best corner in Formula One is subjective and can vary depending on driver and the track. Some of the most famous and challenging corners in Formula One include Eau Rouge at Spa, the Senna S at Interlagos, and the Parabolica at Monza. Ultimately, the best corner is the one that offers a test for the driver's skill and bravery, while also providing exciting racing for the fans. Now again, I think this answer is just extremely solid. It's only given us 3 examples, but they are definitely some of the 3 most famous and best corners in F1. So I'd have to give this one a 5 out of 5 as well. Yeah, extremely great answer. So these first 2 answers have been about retrieving information. The best Formula One corner and the greatest driver are definitely subjective, but there's probably a lot of information out there. The next question I'm going to ask it is, what is a rule change for 2023 or onwards that could potentially improve the racing in Formula One? So obviously it only knows from 2021, so it won't know about the 2022 season's rule change. Well, it'll probably know of it, but it won't know about the 2022 season. So it says one potential rule change that can improve racing in Formula One would be to increase the amount of downforce allowed on the cars. This would make the cars stick to the track better and allow them to corner at higher speeds, which would make for closer and more exciting races. Another potential rule change would be to reduce the amount of aerodynamic downforce on the cars, which would reduce the ability of cars to follow closely behind one another, creating opportunities for overtaking. So I think it might have got a little bit confused with this. The first answer is increased downforce, and the second is to reduce the amount of downforce, and apparently the first one it says it would improve the racing because it could allow drivers to corner at higher speeds. Second, reducing downforce, allow the cars to follow more closely, and creating more opportunities for overtaking. I don't think these are that correct, to be honest. And the final part says another approach could be to introduce a standardized power unit. This would level the playing field and reduce gaps between teams, which is correct. but it kind of takes away the aspect of Formula One. It is a competition on car development as well as racing, and there's plenty of spec series out there that people would watch if they wanted to watch drivers racing in the same car. Yeah, I think this initial response pretty poor. I know what it's kind of on about, but I'd give it a 2 out of 5. I don't think any of these would be good changes going forward. Definitely wouldn't improve the racing in Formula One. So I've changed the question slightly. I've said, what is a rule change in Formula One for the 2023 season that would make things more interesting? So yeah, it's saying that it doesn't have the knowledge for the 2023 season. Actually, it has given us an answer. Some of the possible new rule changes have been discussed in the past, including the introduction of a budget cap, which obviously has been brought in. The use of alternate fuel sources such as electric or hybrid power. I don't think Formula 1 cars are going electric anytime soon. And the final is another possible rule change could be to increase the number of races in a season, or introduce new tracks and venues to Formula 1 to bring new audiences to the world, which definitely is happening this season. So overall, I'd give the first part probably a 2 out of 5, and the second answer probably a 3 out of 5. I think it definitely knows some of these things have already happened, but still a pretty solid answer, and yeah, quite creative. So the next question I'm going to ask is to develop a setup for the F1 2022 game for a lap around Silverstone, and for this I'm going to compare it to the setup used by outsidergaming.com, and we'll see what it comes up with. So we'll initially start by just asking it to create a setup, and then I'll probably give it each specific parameter, such as like tire pressure, camber, as I don't think it will know all of them. So create a try race for the F1 2022 game for a race around Silverstone. So it's given us a tyre strategy. It's saying to start on the hards, which I guess is really up to interpretation on how long the race is going to be. So wing level, set the front wing to 4 and the rear wing to 8. So compared to the setup on Outsider Gaming, which uses a front wing of 10 and a rear wing of 20, it's a little bit off. So I'm going to give it, this is where it's good. So that's not a great answer. Now, if I ask it to do the same, but using the following parameters, and then I'll just take out all of the answers from the website. So we'll see how it answers this. Now we've given it a full list of parameters to account for. It's giving it more information. Something about ChatGPT is you do need to make sure you're feeding it information that's sort of relevant and important. It's not a mind reader. It just can't just know what you're thinking. You do need to sort of specify, give it something to work with. Because if you think about it, this is just an example for Formula 1. It can do this for anything, so you do need to be quite specific with the questions you're asking. So we'll compare this. So it's saying front wing of 7 versus the 10 on Outsider Gaming, rear wing of 9 where you would actually use one of 20. So I think that's a little bit low on the downforce. The on-off throttle, 50% for both on the setup, and then a 50-65 on this, so not too bad. Camber, minus 2.5 and 2. Minus 2.5 and minus 1.5, so pretty good to be honest. Front toe is pretty much there. Rear suspension, front suspension, pretty much there. The anti-roll bar's a little bit off. It's saying 7 and 6, whereas the website gives us 2 and 3. Ride height, pretty close. But overall, that's pretty solid. It's probably not going to get me the fastest time round Silverstone on the F1 2022 game, but I think that's probably a pretty decent setup, definitely a decent starting point. So as you can imagine, it's not going to be replacing anyone's jobs anytime soon. I think Hannah Schmidt, Bono, Adrian Newey, I'm pretty sure they're all safe in their jobs for the time being. I don't think this is going to replace anyone. It is being used by a lot of industries as like more of a starting point or to generate ideas. And then the expertise and sort of technical knowledge can be used going forward. So number 5, go into things a bit more creative. So create a slogan for the following Formula 1 teams. I've done all Formula 1 teams. So Mercedes, unleashing speed and precision on track. Now that sounds like something they would actually use. Red Bull, pushing the limits of performance. Ferrari, power and passion on the track. So they're all quite similar, to be honest. They're not very specific to the actual team. McLaren, driven by innovation, powered by performance. Alpine, elevating motorsports to new heights, unleashing British engineering on track. So it has taken into the fact Aston Martin is a British company. AlphaTauri, leading the pack with cutting edge technology. And yeah, like Williams, a winning tradition on the track, so it has taken history into it. So I think those are pretty good, to be honest. I think any of those could be a sort of like slogan or like tagline for their companies. I don't think anyone would have sort of have a raised eyebrow. Let's try asking it to make them more specific to the teams. Not too much different. It's included Ferrari's legacy of excellence. Alpine, it has included the fact it is a French company. Yeah, but Haas, driven by determination, which I agree, but powered by precision engineering, Haas's relentless pursuit of success might be a little bit questionable with their current history in Formula 1. So I'm going to say include something about the drivers in each. So Mercedes hasn't included either drivers. So yeah, it's more just saying with our drivers rather than saying they're specific drivers that race for the team, which I guess I probably wasn't specific enough in the question that I asked. So I think that was pretty solid. I'd give that a 4 out of 5. And I think if you had an advertising board for Williams with a winning tradition on track, Williams' pursuit of greatness with our determined drivers, you wouldn't really question it, would you? So number 6, we'll start going into the technical aspect of Formula 1 cars, and we could ask it, how would you set up a Formula 1 car for a race around, let's do a race around Monza. So we also know Monza is very high speed, very low downforce. So we'd expect it to have that sort of answer. Setting up a Formula 1 car at Monza would involve several adjustments to optimize the car performance. So aerodynamics, Monza has long straights, low drag setup will be used to maximize the speed. So this would involve adjusting the front and rear wing angles to reduce the amount of downforce. So yeah, spot on. Suspension, the track has several high speed corners. Yeah, I guess it does. Mostly low speed, to be honest. There's a few. Definitely has several. So a stiff suspension setup would be used to improve handling and stability. Monza's a high-speed circuit, so teams would choose a tyre compound that can withstand high speeds, provide good grip. Yeah, it's quite well known that tyre degradation at Monza is fairly low. Weight distribution, teams would adjust the weight distribution of the cars to optimise the balance. I don't think they can really do that too much. Monza requires a lot of power. Teams will adjust the engine map accordingly. The gear ratios will be adjusted to suit the track layout. That's something I imagine they do. And brake cooling. Monza has long straights followed by heavy braking zones, which it does. Teams will adjust the brakes and cooling ducts to ensure brakes are cooled enough to withstand high temperatures generated. So yeah, I think that's pretty solid, to be honest. It obviously doesn't go into the details as all cars will be different, but I think that's a pretty good summary of how you would want to set up a car around Monza. I'd give that one a 4 out of 5. So number 7, let's ask ChatGPT for a location for a new race in Formula 1. So we'll say, what is the best location for a Formula 1 race to be added to the 2024 calendar? So it'll be interesting to see if it picks up an existing track or creates somewhere new like Las Vegas or something like that. So it says it will depend on the number of factors such as availability of suitable tracks, which is true, the level of interest from fans and local businesses, and the availability to secure funding, which is all true. Some popular locations of Formula 1 races include cities like Monaco, Singapore and Abu Dhabi, but ultimately the best location would need to be determined through careful consideration and analysis. So yeah, obviously we probably wouldn't go to any of those 3 countries because they've already got tracks. So let's say generate a list of 5 new locations where a F1 race could be held. So in that first question I said where would be the best location. So a good location might be Silverstone because there's already a track there. So you do have to be specific in the way you ask questions. So for this example I've asked it to generate a list, which is normally pretty good at, of 5 new locations. So Rio de Janeiro, the city's famous Copacabana beachfront, would be for a scenic and iconic race location. Brazil already has a strong motorsport culture and a large fan base for F1. So I think that would be quite cool, to be honest. Would we have 2 races in Brazil? Probably not, but seeing F1 cars down the Copacabana beachfront would definitely be something. Number 2, Sydney, Australia. Sydney's diverse and bustling cityscape combined with its nearby coastal areas would make for an exciting race location. Australia already has a successful Formula 1 race in Melbourne, so adding a second race in Sydney could further boost the sport's popularity. I could definitely see Australia having 2 races, maybe replacing Melbourne, as it's not a great circuit. Yeah, I think a solid answer. Las Vegas, USA. Las Vegas is already a popular destination for tourists and a hub for entertainment, making it a prime location for an F1 race. A street circuit that winds through the city's famous casinos and hotels would create a unique and thrilling race. So obviously it only is up to 2021, so it hasn't included the Las Vegas Grand Prix that's happening in 2023. I think that's a pretty good guess, to be honest, because that one is going to happen. Cape Town, South Africa. Cape Town is a stunning natural beauty, including Table Mountain and the Atlantic Ocean, which will provide a picturesque backdrop for an F1 race. So it's also suggesting a street circuit. There's obviously already a track in South Africa in Kyalami, and yeah, I think that would be a better choice over a street circuit in Cape Town. They're quite close together, so I think that'd be the better option. And then Tokyo in Japan. Japan has already a successful F1 race in Suzuka, which is true. Adding a second race in Tokyo would provide a new challenge for drivers. So yeah, it hasn't said if it should be a street circuit or more of a traditional track. But yeah, could you see Japan having another race? I think you're more likely to see somewhere like China or maybe India host Grand Prix in the future. But yeah, I think a street circuit around Tokyo would be pretty cool, to be honest. That's a pretty good list of answers. It hasn't really taken into account any of the existing tracks that aren't on the calendar, but I'd give it a 4 out of 5, to be honest. I think those are all decent shouts. So number 8, the 2023 calendar has 23 races, as China has currently been taken off. So I think it'd be cool to see if it can, so we're going to have quite a few double headers, and one of the double headers we're going to have is between Austria and Silverstone. So we'll ask it if it can generate the best way to travel between Austria and Silverstone, between the two Grand Prix. So we've asked it, what is the best way to travel between the Austrian Grand Prix on the 2nd of June and the Great Britain Grand Prix on the 9th of June? But ultimately the best way to travel will depend on your personal preference and budget. I think that's pretty good, to be honest. It gives us a good overview. If you're looking to travel, you can fly, train, rent a car, bus, and it even tells you where to fly from to get to the closest city and what websites you can use. So I'll give this answer, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's fairly good. It could have gone to a little bit more detail, given us some dates. Maybe we'll ask it, can it give us some dates? So we've asked it, can you give us dates of flights? See if it can return this from, it says it's a language model. It doesn't have the abilities to give you up-to-date flight schedules, obviously because it's limited to 2021, but yeah, it's given us some examples. So I'd give it a 4 out of 5. You definitely couldn't do all your planning on it, but it gives you a good overview. So question 9, we'll go into some marketing. So create a marketing campaign for a McLaren Formula 1 team to release their 2023 Formula 1 car, going into as much detail as possible. Include Zak Brown, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. So for a marketing team, this will be your initial start. So you start with a teaser campaign, build excitement and anticipation, include a countdown clock on the team's website, social media posts hinting at the car's features and capabilities, and glimpses of the car. I think all Formula 1 teams do this. They do sort of social media, and then reveal event, host a live reveal event in 2023 car, streamed on the team's website and social media channels. The event can feature speeches from team principal Zak Brown. He's not actually the team principal, he's the CEO, so that one's a little bit off, as well as appearances from drivers Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, so it does know the difference, who can speak about their excitement for the new car, which they normally do. Virtual tours of the 2023 car give fans an in-depth look of its design. That's quite a good idea. They could do a social media contest, run a social media contest involving fans to submit their own designs for the 2023 car. The winning design can be featured on the team's website and social media channels. It's quite a cool idea. I don't think they're ever going to use a fan's design for their livery, but it's quite a cool idea. Track testing, organise a track testing day. That's very difficult in Formula 1, they're very limited. So yeah, that one's not really an option. Sponsorship, reach out to potential sponsors highlighting the new car's advanced technology and the team's strong performance in previous seasons. That's arguable, and as well as the high visibility and engagement opportunities. Bit more vague, but yeah, still pretty decent. So I think that gives a pretty good overall sort of summary of a marketing campaign. It gives nothing specific. Maybe I'll say give a specific idea that would generate a lot of interest from Formula 1 fans on Twitter. So one idea to generate a lot of interest from Formula 1 fans on Twitter would be to run a Twitter exclusive scavenger hunt using clues related to the 2023 McLaren Formula 1 car. Fans would have to solve the clues hidden Easter eggs on their team's website or social media channels. These Easter eggs would reveal exclusive content such as behind the scenes footage of the car development, images of the car, or even the chance to win a VIP experience of an upcoming race. I think that's quite a cool idea, to be honest. They could do like a scavenger hunt sort of thing with clues, and then the first person to get those could put it on the website and they would win a VIP tour and get to go to the launch event. So I think that's such a quite cool idea and very creative for AI to just come up with that. So I think for this overall answer, I'd give that a 5 out of 5. I think it's pretty decent, to be honest. It's given us a more vague overview, and then it's also given us a specific example. The final question, let's see how well it knows its drivers. So let's say, who could replace Lewis Hamilton for Mercedes Formula One team if he retires in, let's say, 2025? The answer, it's difficult to say who could replace Lewis Hamilton. Depends on future careers of various up-and-coming drivers, which is true. Some of the young up-and-coming drivers, such as George Russell, so obviously he drives for the team already, but they wouldn't know that because it's only up to 2021. Lando Norris, I think, is a solid shout. Max Verstappen, I can't see that happening, to be honest. And yeah, those are the replacements. I'll put, give me a list of 10 replacements, ranking from most to least likely. So I haven't asked it to be specific, I've sort of given it as general. This is asking it to be most to least likely. So number 1, Max Verstappen, probably not going to happen. George Russell is already at the team. Valtteri Bottas, to be honest, I can't see him going back. Maybe, but probably not. Carlos Sainz, can't see it happening. Same with Charles Leclerc. Lando, potentially, if that McLaren doesn't start doing well. Perez, Ocon, Latifi to replace Hamilton at Mercedes. If that happens, you heard it here first. And number 10, Mick Schumacher, which could be a possibility now he is their reserve driver. So that's ChatGPT and how well it knows Formula One. If you want to comment some questions down below, I'll definitely make another video going into different questions. There's so many questions you can ask this thing. So yeah, just comment any questions down below you want to see, and I might make a part 2. If you've made it to this far in the video and you're not subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you could. 87.4% of my viewers aren't subscribed to the channel, and having those subscribers would really help to boost the engagement and help this channel to grow a lot more. So if you've enjoyed this video and you're new around here, I'll link a few videos at the end if you want to watch them. But yeah, thanks for watching to the end. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one.